The best time to discover new titles is during the Steam Next Fest. The Steam Next Fest is a week-long celebration of upcoming games, with literally hundreds of demos to try out. The Steam Next Fest is a celebration of upcoming games with literally hundreds of demos to try out. I really would love to spend all of my time trying out every single demo they have available to download, but the truth is, I would rather go more in depth with 10 demos I really enjoyed than try out 100 demos I don't really get into. I've actually tried out 15 different demos. That's quite a few demos I've tried out. There's a lot of other cool demos as well, though I probably won't have time to cover them all. Heck, I'm not even sure if I have time to play them. Also, any game that I've tried out in a prior Games Fest won't be covered here. As per usual, everything is running off of a Steam Deck, captured with a capture card of course. So without further ado, let's begin then. The first demo we'll be looking at is Azure Striker Gunvolt 3. If you're looking for a Mega Man Zero successor, this may be the game for you. I've played all of the main Gunvolt games, and I've played the Luminous Avenger games as well. And of all the Gunvolt games, this is the closest to Mega Man Zero. Most of the time, you're actually not playing as Gunvolt, you're instead playing as Kirin. It's kind of interesting to see that Gunvolt's become the least interesting character to play as in his own game. I definitely recommend playing these games if you haven't before. The next game featured is Hunt the Night. It's a dark fantasy, gothic action-adventure game from a top-down perspective. You could say it's like a 2D Zelda game, but it's actually more akin to, say, Hyper Light Drifter. I do quite like this game, but I do think the combat's a bit slow, but I'm probably just in an early part of the game, and also, you know, it's a demo. I don't really know much about the story or the lore, though I do know that the art style looks great. Definitely give this game a shot. The next game is a bit of an interesting situation on the Steam Deck. It's the first demo I've encountered with a serious issue, the issue being that it runs at basically half the speed. And no, this is just your bog standard 60Hz, 60 FPS limit. I've actually contacted the developers about this issue and they seem to be aware of it. I'm not sure if they'll fix it for the demo, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna work on this for the full game. And yes, I've tried this with Proton GE, that doesn't fix the issue either. If you want to play this demo, try it on your main PC instead. Next up is a demo for Asparagus, Curse of the Stars. It's a more cartoonish take on the Souls-like genre, with influences taken from Roman and Greek mythology. With the right settings, you can set it up to run at a solid 60 FPS, but if you want to save power, or perhaps crank up the eye candy just a little bit more, you can actually set the game to run at 40 Hz, and it runs very smoothly. Through and through though, it's very much a Souls game. You hack and slash and dodge through all of these monsters and opponents. If you're looking to scratch that Soulsborne itch, but you're looking for a more forgiving experience, then this may be the one for you. You only lose about 10% of your stockpiled Stardust, which is your currency in the game. One thing I will say is that your health potions don't automatically recover themselves, but you can stockpile a bunch at a time, so you're not limited like 5 per respawn. And yes, that's right, you also have active skills as well. Through and through though, it's a very Souls-like experience, and a very accessible one at that too. The next game is Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. This game is very much inspired by the brutal NES days, games like Ninja Gaiden. That's basically the main game that comes to mind, but also Sega's Shinobi series. One of my favorite Genesis games being Shinobi 3. And yeah, sure, a bunch of games are retro inspired, but this one really takes it up a notch. It really nails the stiff feeling of those older titles, and I love it. And this game is just oh so satisfying. I get to live out my fantasy of being a cyborg ninja, or a robot ninja. I'm not picky. You have a variety of abilities to help you traverse as well as dispose of your enemies as well, like a dive kick or a wall jump, and up to 8 special weapons, though you only get access to 1 in this demo. And if you're not acclimated to the difficulty of NES titles, then this game's probably going to be a bit difficult. But I would definitely say it's far more accessible than most NES titles. Definitely going to give this game a shot when it releases. I've also played a bunch of Joy Masher's other games as well, and those are also excellent as well. You should give them a shot, and this game too when it releases. Next up is Vernal Edge. I actually did an interview with this developer a long time ago on my podcast, back when I was a much smaller channel. And I also kickstarted this project as well, so I'll be playing this in the future when it comes out. It's a very slick combat-oriented Metroidvania. In this case, it takes inspiration from the character action genre. You know, games like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Ninja Gaiden, the original God of War trilogy. I do prefer games that have combat with a more free-form combat system. I do prefer games with a more combat-oriented system. Rather than focusing on increasing your stats or perhaps getting better items, instead you just have to learn how to link your moves together more properly, learn how to combo them effectively, learn which moves go together. Go give this demo a shot. The next game is a Touhou game, Touhou Hero of Ice Fairy? What kind of title is that? And they did the Chirano reference. I see what's going on here, devs. This game is only bosses, or at least the demo is just this one boss right here. If you're not good at weaving around bullets or dodging through the bullets, then you're gonna have a hard time. Most of my demo time was just me trying to beat Marissa. A lot of bullets, a lot of fun. It may not be fun for you if you're not good at these kind of bullet hell games. But I think I'm a pretty seasoned shmup player, so I think I know a thing or two about dodging bullets. The next game on our list is Pixel Junk Scrappers Deluxe. Mankind is dead, and junk is fuel. You're part of the most exciting garbage disposal company in the history of mankind, and you get to partake in literal scrap wars. Take that, Linus Tech Tips. This game is part score attack, part beat 'em up. Pixel Junk games have historically always been extremely high concept games, and this is no exception. Get 4 of your best friends around to play this game with you. Online or offline, you won't regret it. The next demo here is Gunbrella. It's a Metroidvania with one unique twist. You have an umbrella that's also a gun. And while the gun part is fairly basic, your umbrella is multifunctional. You can use your umbrella to block bullets or reflect bullets, or you can use the Mary Poppins around the levels. I feel like I've said this about every demo in this video, but this is one heck of a game. It's got it all. It's got mobility, it's got action, it's got platforming, and the dialogue's sometimes pretty funny. It may require some learning to get used to, but after you learn it, it feels so satisfying to zip around the air shooting everyone. Next up is Rhythm Quest. It's a 2-button rhythm platformer game. It's a fairly simple concept. 1 button jumps and 1 button attacks. And given the nature of this game being a rhythm game, each level has its own unique soundtrack. All original music, I should mention. It's pretty fun. Yeah, it seems simple given that it's only 2 buttons, but get this. Most games that are simple in nature tend to be the most devious games in later levels, being difficult. But given that this is a demo, you won't have access to those later levels. Not till you buy the game, not till the game comes out at least. The next game on our list is The Night Witch. The Night Witch is a Metroidvania shmup game, shmup being, shoot 'em up. Plenty of bullets and a lot of hell to rain down on your enemy. You get to fly around freely in the air while dodging bullets and shooting bullets back at your enemies. The main differentiator for this game is the spell card system. Throughout the world, you can find different spell cards to add to your repertoire, and then you can go to a save point and then change out your deck. Unlike most card builder games, this isn't really a super extensive card game per se, but there is a lot of value to be added with these cards, and you'll definitely want to make use of these cards. I think it's a very solid demo, and I can't wait to see what else is in store when the full game releases. The next game is Slay the Princess. Definitely the most unusual game on this list. Your main goal is to, you guessed it, slay a princess. It's very difficult to judge a visual novel based on the demo, given that the main crux of a visual novel is in fact the story, and they're not going to tell you the full story in a demo. In fact, they don't tell you the full story in this demo either. There's a lot of witty dialogue between you and the narrator, because the narrator insists you kill this princess without elaborating on why, other than the fact that the world will end. It's a question of who can you trust? Can you trust this princess that's chained up in a cabin? Can you trust this narrator who's admonishing us for even questioning his intent? Who knows for certain? All I know for certain is I really like these weird indie gems that pop up every now and then. And this one's no exception. It's a fairly unique visual novel. The next 3 games are quite similar to one another and very similar to Vampire Survivors, which is why I'm lumping them all together. This one's called Spellbook Demon Slayers. On the surface, this seems very similar to Vampire Survivors. In fact, you could even argue that it is very similar to Vampire Survivors. Of course, some weapons have the ability to manually aim them. It's fun, but it doesn't really do anything that different. Next up on the list is Soulstone Survivors. The main differentiator between this and, say, Vampire Survivors is the fact that you're not stuck with the weapons you choose. If you so desire, once you level up, you can actually swap your weapons for different weapons, but they start at level 1 again. Weapons have multiple avenues for upgrades, and it's not strictly just leveling up has set bonuses. You can choose to upgrade the area of effect, you can choose to upgrade damage, or even multicast. This game in particular looks more like an ARPG, kind of like, Diablo or Torchlight or whatever, than it does Vampire Survivors. And I guess part of that is due to the fact that it has an isometric camera view instead of, a top-down view. And enemies have to specifically attack you instead of just running into you for the most part. The next game is Her Name Was Fire. It's actually a bit different in that it's not quite like Vampire Survivors, but rather it's more like 20 Minutes Till Dawn, a similar styled game with the focus on having one weapon instead of multiple different weapons. And your health is measured by how many hits you can take rather than how much health you have. And as such, mistakes are more unforgiving as there's no way to heal. Not in this game at least. Not yet anyways. The game structure is also a bit different as well. Yes, you do survive, but you also do fight bosses. Bosses in enclosed spaces that shoot a lot of bullets at you. And being that this game is described as tarot punk, all of your level up bonus upgrades come in the form of tarot cards, though I'm pretty sure a vast majority of these aren't actually real tarot cards, like the Drift. So what did we learn today? Well, I learned that there were quite a few people trying to capitalize on the success of Vampire Survivors, trying to put their own spin on the genre to make it unique. And in my opinion, that says a lot about Vampire Survivors itself, how much of an impact it had on the industry as a whole. Heck, I've even covered one of those Vampire Survivor-like games, Hollow Cure. Aside from that though, what else did we learn today? A lot of people have an idea as to what an indie game is in their mind. A lot of these independent developers are pushing the boundaries of what an indie game could be, pushing out fresh new ideas, or brand new game innovations. The sort of gameplay innovations that are somewhat rare in AAA games these days. And as always, in the description, there's links to these individual game Steam pages in case you want to buy or wishlist them. In other news though, I'm also cooking up something with other Steam Deck creators as well. You want to know what it is? You'll likely find out later today. But of course, it involves some creators you may be familiar with. If you guys are interested, you should check out my Twitter page. I'll let you guys know who I'm working with and what the channel is called. If you wish to directly support High Tech Lowlife, you should check out the link in the description below for our Patreon page. And if you like this video, you should give it a thumbs up and subscribe as well. And if you want, you can also join my Discord server. As always, links in the description down below for all of this.